Great, well welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Amy Barnard-Bahn, and I'm an executive coach and consultant on leadership for compliance officers and their teams. So how many of you in here consider yourself heroes? Because I know I do. The work that we all do is hard, and it's necessary, and it's in its essence good. So let me take you back to a time when I was Chief Compliance and Ethics Officer at McKesson U.S. Pharmaceutical. I was hired in as the very first business unit compliance officer for the largest, most profitable business unit of Fortune 5 McKesson. $90 billion business, 7,000 employees in 40 locations, including some international, which sounds great, and I was reporting to the president, so had the title. But I had zero resources. I had a window, but it faced a brick wall, literally. And that became a very powerful metaphor for the work that I was going to be engaging on over the next 5 years. Organizational culture is in a state of equilibrium. And there will always be driving forces that make change attractive to people, and there are always restraining forces that work to keep things the way they are. And so we've got this equilibrium going on. And so if you want to change something, you have to do one of two things. You have to either strengthen the driving forces, or you have to weaken the restraining forces in order to push your change forward. And to put a number on it, some people have said, in order to make a change, the force has to be 10 times the existing equilibrium to actually get it through. There are really two things around vision. One is try to help people really clearly see the future state that you're moving them towards. If you can tell the story of why the future is going to be better, they will go on the journey with you. And this is where the hard work that we do really happens. If you ever feel like you're just stuck and why isn't this happening, why don't people get all the hard work you've been doing, they're probably somewhere here in the bottom. And so your goal is to move them back up by using these tools. Okay, you've created a metamorphosis in your organization. How do you get it to take flight throughout? This line represents unmanaged change. So if you don't plan ahead, the left axis is impact, and the bottom is time. And if you do what we've talked about today, or even just a little bit of it, what you do will end up being something like this, which is managed change. You will reduce the negative consequences, you'll reduce the anxiety in your organization, and you'll compress the time that it takes to implement and accelerate that change, which is a beautiful gift to the organization, right? Yeah, one thing that people tend to forget about change is that usually by the time we launch a change, we've been working on it and maybe even pushing for it for years. So we're already way through the change curve. We are way committed. We are impatient. We just want the thing done. It's hard to remember that no one else is where we are. And we have to back up and remember what that was like and get information meeting them where they are. Your goal as a change leader is to create a psychological safety zone. Well, if people panic, they cannot change. So great change leaders move people into a zone of change without moving them into the panic zone. There was a great quote by Abraham Lincoln that I always think of with change management that says, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 4 hours sharpening the axe. And I think about that a lot when I think about change management, because it's all in the prep. The more prep you do and the more front-loaded you are with that, the easier and smoother it's going to be when you finally hit the trigger on starting it.